Right, last time we met, we started with our introduction to personal finance and our unit on personal finance. Today we're going to pick up where we left off. Last time we talked, we were discussing how job is different than a career. Remember, a job is something you just show up for every day, typically to earn a paycheck. A career is something you can see yourself growing with. There should be some personal and professional development along with a career. You do want to find something you're good at and something you enjoy as part of your career. Alright, so you need to think about how are you going to go about getting there. First off, you need to refresh your memory. You need to go back to that first week we had class and we discussed Adam Smith's factors of production. You know, that land, labor, and capital thing we talked about. Remember that capital was split up into physical capital and human capital. Human capital was the education, skills, and knowledge needed to complete a task. Employers are looking for that out of you. Some of the important human capital out there that you need to worry about acquiring in the current global marketplace. One, you need to be really good with technology. Some of you are awesome already with it. Some of you are a little lacking at this point in your life. You do need to work on that. There are a lot of really good experienced people out there, some great programs out there to help build those skills, and we'll do some of that in this class as well. You do need to build those skills. Technology has completely changed the way the global marketplace works, so you need to make sure to get on board. Secondly, the ability to speak another language. This one's huge as well. The demographics in the United States are changing quite rapidly. Whereas it may have been okay back in the old days just to speak English and that was fine and you could survive and you could make a great living, nowadays if you want to be truly marketable and able to compete in that global marketplace, you do need to have another skill set. You need to have multiple languages under your belt. Not only know them, but be fluent in them. Two languages I would suggest looking into. One would be Spanish. The Hispanic population in the United States is growing exponentially, meaning that if you can speak Spanish, you can be a valuable asset to your company in a variety of settings, whether it be IT or sales, marketing, something like that. You could be a valuable member of your team. So being bilingual is really important. So Spanish would be one. Mandarin Chinese might be the other. We've talked in here a little bit about the U.S. involvement with China and how we kind of have a codependency on one another to succeed in the economic marketplace. Chinese is a growing popular language in the world overall. Over 1 billion people live in China. That's a huge marketplace. American companies are there. The rest of the world is moving there if they haven't already. The increase in petroleum products, the increase in transportation, all of that stuff, it's getting to China. It may have taken a little while, but China's one of the #1 marketplaces in the world. So being able to speak Mandarin Chinese might give you a slight edge over some of your competitors out there as you try to get specific jobs. So as you're thinking about that for human capital, some of the things employers are looking for, I'll get into a couple more details here in a second, but you do want to think about technology and being able to speak another language. As some of the other things that employers are looking for out of candidates for jobs would be a strong academic record. Employers are looking that you have very strong academics. They are looking for a minimum normally of a 3.0 GPA, sometimes it's even higher. The higher your GPA is, the better. The more marketable you are. The more they're going to desire you and want you. It shows that you have the initiative to learn material. When you have a job, you have to learn material and be able to apply that, just like you do in school. You might not see the benefit of doing some of your schoolwork today, but that tells employers, are you going to be willing to do it later? So employers are looking for that strong academic record. Secondly, they're looking for leadership. Companies want leaders. They don't want somebody who just follows. They want somebody who's going to be a step ahead of everyone else and providing leadership for their company. So leadership's important. Help build those skills. We have several opportunities here at our school, plenty of clubs and organizations to get involved in. When you're in those, it's okay to be a member, but it's even better to be a leader. So make sure that you're getting involved in those organizations and that you accept those leadership roles and take them head on so that you can be as successful as possible. Employers are looking at work experience. They want to see what have you done in the past and how can what you've done in the past help their company today. So you do want to make sure that you have some work experience. At this point in your life, you don't have a lot, but you do need to work on that to build your work experience. Right now it might be taking care of lawns, mowing grass, taking care of babies, that kind of stuff. But you do want to branch off and get some good, solid work experience. employers are looking for good work experience. They're not just looking that you've had jobs, they're also looking at the quality of job and how long you stay there. They want to make sure that they will hire people that are going to stay with their company and be an asset to their company for years to come. It's a lot easier to retain employees than train new ones. So they're looking for someone who's going to stay on board and do a good job for them. Employers are also looking for internship experience. If you get a chance to do an internship, make sure you do that. Normally internships are fairly short, ranging usually from 3 months to 6 months. Some are paid, some aren't. Depends on the company that you're interning with. But internships, again, they show initiative and they show that you want to learn about that business. So employers are looking for that type of experience. Make sure to try to find internships. All right, lastly, they're looking at extracurriculars. They want to make sure that you are involved. That could be involvement in the school community, or that could be our outside community. You do want to make sure that you're giving back and that you're involved. Our school has done a fantastic job doing service learning. We've won the Superintendent Service Learning Award 3 years in a row at our school. So we are very much engaged in this type of activity and this type of practice. Make sure that you're learning from these activities. Make sure you continue to be involved. Come up with your own service learning opportunities and make sure to document it all so you can talk about it. Employers want to see that you give back, so make sure that you do. So those are some of the things that employers are looking for out of you, the potential candidates. All right, so getting a job, we need to talk about resumes and cover letters. Resumes and cover letters are your opportunity to sell yourself and all of your abilities and accomplishments. This is your chance to brag about yourself. Now, this doesn't mean embellishing and going too far and falsifying information. You can get fired for that. Let's say you do get that job. You could get fired for that. So you don't want to falsify any information. But this is an opportunity for you to show all that you have done over the course of your, at this point, 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th grade. And as you go on, you can keep updating it. But this is your opportunity to brag about yourself and show what you've done. Employers want to see that. You want to make sure you make the right impression. How many chances do you get to make a first impression? Just one. So you need it to be outstanding. So make sure to do that. Make sure that your resume and cover letters are good. You'll do both of these in our class as part of your personal finance project. All right, let's talk a little bit about resumes. Resumes should be no longer than 1 page. If I'm a potential employer, I don't want to have to thumb through a whole bunch of stuff trying to find information about you. I want to see it and I need it to be right in front of my face. You need to have bullet points, not paragraphs. You can write paragraphs in your cover letter. That will be an outstanding opportunity for you to showcase your communication skills and your writing ability. On your resume, though, it needs to be bullet points. It needs to be fast, easy for me to find information about you. So make sure that you do that. You want to make sure to follow a clean and easy to read format. I'll give you some examples of that here in just a minute. On the screen, you can see a couple of examples of resumes. I would suggest following the template fairly closely to this. So let's go ahead and go over that. First off, top center needs to be your name. I might make it a little bit bigger than the rest of your text. Might put it in bold. This will showcase that this is your name. Make sure that this is your official name. Some of you have nicknames that you go by, and make sure it's your real name. They want to see that. If you have questions about that, we can talk about it. Under your name, you want your contact information. You need to include an address. Make sure you include the zip code. Sometimes people leave that out. You don't want to do that. You also need to include your phone number. Make sure it's a working phone number. If it's a cell phone, so be it. If it's a home phone, so be it. But make sure it works. If I have to call you and it says this phone number is temporarily disconnected, that's not good. You need to make sure that your phone numbers work. All right. Lastly, you want to include your email address. A lot of employers do everything electronically now. Back in the old days, you used to turn in a paper application with your resume. Nowadays, they don't do it that way. Everything's electronic. So if you aren't up to speed with electronic technology and all of that, you're going to have problems. So you do want to make sure to include your email. Make sure to check that often. You never know when you might get a job interview opportunity. So you do want to make sure that you check that frequently. All right. For your categories for your resume, so you have your name and your contact information at the top. Your first category needs to be education. You want to have your most recent educational experience at the very top. For most of you, that would be Horry Georgetown Technical College. You might want to put the location, which would be Conway, South Carolina, there in the center, and to the right, along the right-hand margin, the dates you attended it. For right now, a lot of you started in 2011 as an Horry Georgetown Tech student. That would be 2011-present or current. That tells us that you're still enrolled in school there. All right, next you want to include the high school, again, location, dates. Make sure your dates are right. Make sure they all line up along your right-hand margin. All right, so first off, you have education. This would be an opportunity for those of you with really strong GPAs to include that. If it's not that strong, if it's definitely under that 3.9, you don't want to include it. That's not one of the major selling points of you. You don't want to bring that up with it being lower. Let them ask potentially, but don't bring that up yourself. All right, so that's education. Next up, you want to have your work experience. Right now you might be mowing grass, you might be babysitting, you might be doing that kind of stuff. That's fine, list it. A lot of you have jobs now at a lot of local businesses around the area. You want to include that. You want to state the name of where you work. You want to include your position, whatever your title is. You want to include the location and the dates that you've worked there. So let's say you started in May. You could have May 2012, present or current. That tells us you still work there. You want whatever your most recent work experience to be at the top of that section, and then go backwards with all your different work experience. Next up, you want leadership or organizations. A lot of you are leaders in the community, leaders in our school. This would be an outstanding place to put that. As you continue to get older, you may be part of different organizations. This would be a good opportunity to list some of those out. Next up, awards and recognitions. This would be, again, a good thing to make sure you hold on to. A lot of you walked across the stage just the other day at our award ceremony. You want to make sure to hold on to those. You want to make sure to document those so you know what you won. When you're listing this stuff, leadership, awards, organizations, that kind of stuff, you do want to make sure that it is 9th grade and up. Whatever happened in middle school and elementary school is over now, so you need to get over it too. Remember, it's high school and above at this point in your life. All right, so you do want to make sure to include that. Lastly, if you still have room here on page 1, you could include some skills, but only if you have room. Some of those important skills might be Microsoft Suite proficient, something like that. Talk about your technology, something like that. But again, make sure it's in bullet points. Make sure that your resume is no longer than 1 page. And make sure it's easy to read and format. All right, as part of your homework, you do need to complete a resume. Cover letters. You should write a cover letter. Normally, it's an optional thing. For you, it needs to be mandatory. Cover letters show the initiative that you truly want a job, shows that you have the desire for the job, and this is your opportunity to showcase your writing and communication skills. You want to make sure to do that. Employers love it. It's going that one extra step that not everybody else did. That might be the one extra step that gets you the job, so make sure to do it. All right, so you send in your resume, you have an application, maybe you filled that out, you sent your cover letter in, you get a phone call or email, congratulations, you have an interview. First off, you need to prepare. You need to make sure you research the company, research the position, and prepare responses. You need to practice those responses to any potential interview questions. The more you practice, the better you'll be at it, but you do want to make sure to do that. You do want to make sure you know the company and the position. You want to make sure that your skill set matches those jobs and those companies. So you do want to make sure to do that. You want to interview well. You want to arrive 5 minutes early, no more. Employers work on a tight timeline. They have a tight schedule. If you're 15 minutes early, that might inconvenience them. That's not good. 5 minutes early is fine. Maybe they've wrapped up whatever their previous appointment was. Then they can go ahead and kind of take a break, get a breather real quick, and then get to the interview. But you don't want to rush your interviewer. Secondly, you want to shake hands with a firm handshake. You don't want to give the dead fish handshake, or just throw your hand out there, you squeeze it. You guys all have experienced that. And you don't want the death grip. You want to make sure it's a good, firm handshake. While you're doing that, you want to introduce yourself and make eye contact. We'll spend a lot of time practicing this to make sure that we're good at it. But you do want to make sure to interview well. Good, stand up straight, good body language, all of that. So make sure to do that as you interview well. In our class, you'll be interviewing directly with me, and we'll talk about some of the specific things to look for there. Some of the common interview questions: what are your strengths and weaknesses? Why do you want to work here? Why should I hire you? What is your greatest accomplishment? How well do you respond to change? Here in a few minutes, I'm going to ask you to create some more potential questions. I want you to practice these over and over again. When you're up front interviewing with me, I'm going to ask you some pretty common questions. I may ask you some different ones. You want to make sure that you can respond to those questions and answer them to the best of your ability. All right, so let's say you've interviewed, now what? You need to send a handwritten thank you note. Handwritten thank you notes can be the difference, again, between you and your competitors. All trying to vie for that same job, same coveted job. So you do want to make sure to go that one extra step. That one extra step might be that cover letter. It might be that handwritten thank you note. Make sure to do that. In that note you could say, "Dear so-and-so, thank you so much for meeting with me last week. I look forward to discussing the job with you again soon. I look forward to hearing from you again soon," something like that. Make sure to sign it with your name. Make sure your contact information is good on that. But you do want to double check that. And if you haven't heard back after a few days, you do want to call. You want to make sure you know what's going on in the process. That would also be a fantastic question for you to ask the interviewer when you finish that up. You know, what's the process from here? So you do want to make sure to do that. All right, hopefully some of the stuff we talked about today and some of the stuff we're going to practice here as part of classwork and then homework will be very beneficial to you as you set out to get that perfect career. Again, you don't just want the job, you want the career. All right, so resumes and cover letters. Thanks for watching, and we'll talk to you again soon.